What would happen if the United States did not enter World War II after the bombing of Pearl Harbor? How would Europe be affected by the loss of U.S. military support and a decrease in supplies to the Allied powers?
It is June 6th, 1944. British and Canadian troops stormed the beaches of Normandy without any American help. With only 65% of the troops and equipment that the actual Normandy invasion had, the British forces run into a death trap, resulting in enormous losses and a likely landing failure.
D-Day, also known as the Normandy landings, happened on June 6, 1944. The U.S. along with Britain against Germany. The Normandy landings happened on France's Normandy coast near the cities Caen and Bayeux. The outcome was that the Allies ended up on the beach, and it is said for that to be a victory for the Allies, as well as a turning point to be the end of Germany.
The consequences of the D-Day defeat would have left Germany with increased nationalism and optimism that they would have won the war. The Germans would be left unhindered to keep expanding in Europe, eventually to take over Great Britain.
Months after the D-Day invasion, Germany planned to split the Allies and capture Antwerp by launching a massive counterattack in the Ardennes forest. Germany had about 600,000 men fighting, and while the Allies had 555,000 men. This battle was called the Battle of the Bulge, because of the shape of the Allied lines after the German troops attempted to penetrate them. Germany's plan of breaking through the Allied lines didn't succeed. The Allies were able to push the Germans back and weaken them.
With the help of the U.S., the Allies were able to keep Germans from splitting them. But without the U.S., there would have been 600,000 Germans fighting against 55,000 British, leading to a definite British defeat and likely capture of Antwerp, even if the D-Day invasion was a success.
Even before this, another part of the Allied attack on the Axis powers began in North Africa. Beginning in November 8, 1942, American and British troops invade areas of Morocco and Algeria in an effort to relieve pressure from the German army in Egypt, free up supply lines, the Suez Canal, and expel German influence from North Africa.
The operation contained around 53,500 American soldiers and 20,000 British soldiers against around 60,000 Axis men with 120,000 Vichy fighters that provided resistance to the invasion, albeit for a short time. All around, without the Americans, Allied forces would have lost 73% of their troops. The Allied invasion would have almost certainly failed against the Axis forces without American help.
With a failed landing in North Africa, there would have been a continued cutoff from supplies coming through the Mediterranean. Since the British only got supplies to the U.S. and the Mediterranean, the British would have lost a significant amount of supplies, mostly oil, restricting their military production and weakening them further down the road.
Assuming a defeat at D-Day, there would be few British and Canadian troops remaining. Along with the decreasing supplies for England, Great Britain would be in trouble if Germany decided to invade it. The massacre of around 100,000 troops at D-Day and the lack of ammunition and other supplies would lead to a powerless British Empire against the full might of their German attackers. After the British would fall, Germany could focus on conquering the Soviet Union and expanding in North Africa, eventually fulfilling their goals of global domination.